Welcome to this week's Single Sales Principle webinar. And today is all about how to make your sales presentations sizzle. Now, of course, on the Single Sales Principle, we talk a lot about sizzle selling. The two areas that I really want to focus on today is props and presentations, and also the analogies, how we deliver those that really have some impact. Before I do start talking about sizzle selling particularly, let's just take a look at what makes presentations truly sizzle. And a lot of these techniques can be used in any situation, whether it be a one-on-one sales meeting, or indeed if you're presenting at the International Conference Centre in Birmingham. All of the theories that I'm going to talk about today will apply. So, what is it that we're trying to achieve? Well, let's look at advertising. Because if ever there's a situation whereby we've got to try and absolutely hit people in between the eyes and say, look, grab, hello, I'm here, then it will be advertising. And within advertising, there's something called AIDA, A-I-D-A. Well, what does AIDA stand for? Well, it's all about gaining somebody's attention, keeping their interest, creating desire, and then getting some sort of action at the end of it. So if we look at this advert for datingdirect.com, where do you think the different areas are? How are they trying to grab your attention? For me, it's very much that banner that's going, looking for love, are you single? Search now, come here. So very much that white banner is very much sort of grabbing my attention. But then how are they keeping my interest? Well, yes, I am a woman looking for a man, or a man looking for a woman, or whatever combination that may be. So that's starting to keep my interest because they're asking me questions. Yes, I am this person. Yes, I am looking for that person. Then how do I create the desire? Well, funny enough, they have two very beautiful people on the top right of the advert there, or the bottom right of the advert. So yes, that's starting to create this sort of desire. This is looking quite nice. And then where is the call for action? Well, look, there's a button there that says search now. Okay, so very much that one advert, I think, really takes all of those elements of AIDA, gains my attention, keeps my interest, creates that desire, and then there's a call to action. So very much in terms of our sizzle selling presentations, we need to think about all of those different areas. Another way is to think about how we design our programs. So at L'Amour, we have certain ways that we design each of our modules and each of our programs. And we very much use the insights, colors, to do this. So if we think about fiery reds, what does a fiery red want from a presentation? Well, they want it to be bright. They want it to be brief. They want it to have real purpose, have some key objectives. If we think about the different learning styles, these would be our pragmatists, okay? So in all of our presentations that we put together, there will be a key objective, and we normally chunk each one into about an hour and a half. Normally on a training course, it's in between breaks. So what does this look like? Well, this is what we're trying to deliver. These will be the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. Then our sunshine yellows. What is it that our sunshine yellows are looking for? Well, they want it to be active. They very much want to get involved with something. In terms of learning styles, this would be our activist. So how do we do that on our courses? Well, pretty soon after we set up the objective, we'll get people involved in some sort of exercise. It may be a fun exercise, but then link it back to the learning objective. It may be something that is quite practical exercise, but again, link it back to what we are trying to learn. It may be just getting people to get involved with some sort of video, but bottom line, there will be something to engage the individual. Then we get stuck into the content, into the theory. So thinking very much about our cool blue. Okay, they're getting a bit frustrated that all we've been doing now is some sort of exercise. They now want to say, okay, but where's the theory? Where's the knowledge? How can I get something? So in terms of learning insights, this would be very much the theorist. So we try and come up with something that's pretty much theory-based. And then lastly, Earth Green. What is the Earth Green thinking? Well, we've gone through all of this. We know what our objectives are. We've gone through a fun exercise. We've now got the actual content and the theory. Well, our Earth Green is saying, okay, but how does this relate practically to what I do on a daily basis? So at the end of that process, we always have something like a role play or just trying to get the individual think about how can you implement this in your workplace. So very much a reflector in terms of the learning styles would be thinking, well, yeah, how does this relate back to me? Okay, can I have some time to now think about that and really start to let it kind of drift into my brain and kind of wash around. So that's very much how we design our programs. And again, if you're trying to get people engaged, it would be a good idea to think about the 4 colors of insights. Make it bright and brief, have an objective. Make it fun, get some involvement. Have some sort of content theory and then relate it back to the customer. So let's talk about Sizzle Selling. And there is nothing new about Sizzle Selling. A chap called Elmer Wheeler in 1937 wrote a book called Tested Sentences That Sell. And it was very much Elmer who came up with this idea of Sizzle Selling. Let's have a look at Elmer in action.
It's not so much what you want to say as what the customer wants to hear that makes sales. These principles are designed to make your sales more accurate, foolproof, and faster. Take principle number 1 here, for example. Don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. It's the sizzle that sells the steak and not the cow. Hidden in everything you sell in life is a sizzle. The sizzle is the tang in the cheese, the crunch in the cracker, the whiff in the coffee, and the pucker in the pickle.
The pucker in the pickle. I just absolutely love that line. Okay, so don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. Kind of know where he's going with that, okay? But if any of you have read the single sales principle, we believe that don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle is actually one of the myths of selling. Why do we say that? Well, the reason why we say that is, do you know what? No amount of sizzle in the world will actually help you sell something if the product isn't good. I remember working for an IT company, okay? We had a lot of razzmatazz, we had a lot of sizzle, but our product was lousy. Nobody wanted to buy it because it wasn't very good. So no amount of sizzle will make up for a bad product, okay? But assuming you do have a good product, then sizzle will definitely help. So let's talk about sizzle selling and why we call this area of the sale sizzle selling in the first place. It all goes back to when you go to a Chinese or an Indian or a Thai restaurant and you order the sizzling dish. The first thing that brought to your attention when it's ready is the sound in the kitchen. It's the shh, and your hearing is brought alive with that wonderful sound. And then as the dish is carried across the restaurant, oh, the smell starts to drift towards you. And then when it's presented in front of you, the different colours, the pepper, the red and green, oh, that sauce, it looks delicious. So your eyes are lit up. And then you taste, And what I love about that dish is that it truly engages all of the senses. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do in Sizzle Selling. There are 3 learning channels. There's visual, there's auditory, there's kinesthetic. And what you're trying to do within Sizzle Selling is try to appeal to all of those different channels with your customer. Rather than just being one-dimensional, very much try and get the same points across, but using those different learning channels. So, as I said at the beginning, let's take a little bit of a closer look at Sizzle Selling, in particular 2 areas of props presentation and analogies. So let's start off with props and presentations, in particular presentations. Now, PowerPoint. For those who know me well will know that, yes, we use PowerPoint on our courses, but I'm not a huge fan. And there was some research done in the Times 2 supplement that really spoke about how useless PowerPoint is. And this came from a study by the University of New South Wales that said that we cannot process information in verbal and written form simultaneously. The challenge is when somebody puts a PowerPoint slide and it's full of text, as a listener, you're getting confused because you don't know whether you should be listening to the presenter or whether you should be reading the information. You can't do both at the same time, says this research. Here's a video of an individual talking about the downfall of using PowerPoint. And in quite a humorous way, I think he has some really key messages that we should pay attention to.
that there's some things I hate about PowerPoint, and I figure it's kind of my duty to point them out. So here we go. Here's common PowerPoint mistakes. Number one, people tend to put every word they are going to say on their PowerPoint slides. Although this eliminates the need to memorize your talk, ultimately this makes your slides crowded, wordy, and boring. You will lose your audience's attention before you even reach the bottom of your first slide. Please don't do that anymore, please. Number two, most common, many people do not run spell check. Big mistake. Nothing makes you look stupider than spelling errors. If it's got a red line under it, recheck the spelling. And then finally, I hate this. Avoid excessive bullet pointing, only bullet key points. Too many bullet points, and your key messages will not stand out. In fact, the term bullet point comes from people firing guns at annoying presenters. Hence the bullet point. Bad color schemes, not good. Clashing background and font colors can lead to distraction, confusion, headache, nausea, vomiting, and loss of bladder control. I can't stay on that one too long. Here's something I've noticed. The number of PowerPoint slides you have in your talk, the less useful your talk actually is. Unfortunately, my presentation is right there. I've also noticed this. People love to pack data into their presentations. They shove more and more data thinking it's better, but it's not. The more data you have, the harder it is to read your slide, and the effectiveness plummets. Now you can improve the effectiveness by adding some shading and some 3D effects and then some second order and third order effects, and then, I know, let's add some labels. That'll help a lot. And that's pretty much every marketing slide I've ever seen right there. Yeah. Then some like VP of marketing standing there going, it's real clear in Q4. What the hell are you talking about? Now, I'm into in animation. People become animators in PowerPoint. You can have things flying all over the place, and that can be good. If you're a visual learner, that will improve the effectiveness of your performance. But if you're easily distracted, more animations, and people have no idea what you're talking about. They're just, wow, that is cool, wow. And there's regions here, by the way. There's the simple but effective region. There's the active but confusing, the effective but boring, the active but ineffective, the dull but static region, the busy but useless, the ADD only region, the useful but amusing, the stupid but confusing, the dull triangle, the hyper triangle, the sleepy square, the dizzying pentagon, and everything else I just call pointless motion. That slide right there took me an hour and a half to make, right there. PowerPoint can just suck the life out of you. It's amazing. I've also come up with this. It's a kind of a little science I've invented called font analysis. Basically, the font you choose says something about who you are as a person. There's a huge list of fonts, and you choose one, and that says something about you. So be careful the font you choose. For example, if you choose Courier New, it happens to be my favorite, you're probably organized and structured. If you choose Matisse, it means you're artistic. And if you choose Times New Roman, it means you're lazy, apathetic, and unimaginative, and you always use the default. Oh. A lot of Times New Roman people, welcome. We have some more. If you use freehand script, you're a horrible speller, so you try to hide it with a hard-to-read font. Very smart. If you use Gothic, it means you're very pale and you wear black. And if you choose Wingding, it means you're a nerd and you have no life. In fact, if you know what those symbols mean, you will never have a date, trust me. Don't bother.
I love that. So, one of the other things that he didn't mention that I would absolutely strongly advise you to use is the B button. The B button is the greatest thing ever invented on PowerPoint. Why? Because it does this to the screen. It blacks it out. And here I'm back again. Now, why is this important? By the way, the W button does the same. If you hit the W button, instead of blacking out the screen, it makes it all white. Okay, have a play around with it. You need to be on the slideshow to actually do this. So why is it important to black the screen out? Well, the challenge with PowerPoint is that all too often you leave the slide up there, they're looking at the slide, they're not looking at you. You've probably already covered everything that's on there. So why are you still having that up? Now, you can't put a screen over the front of the camera lens, the projector lens. That's clumsy. Just use the B button, or on your clicker, just hit that button. It's the same thing. The important thing is that you're taking somebody away from the slide and back onto you. We know that the way that a message is received is through your body language, it's through your tonality, it's the way you verbally deliver it. That's so important. Don't have them looking at the PowerPoint slide, have them looking at you. Okay, moving on. Props. Some of you will use samples when you go into a meeting. It may be that you have a brochure. It may be that you have a proposal. There's various different ways that we use props in a sales meeting. But there are some real fundamental things that you need to think about when you're using it. One of my favorite ever use of props was on Dragon's Den. And this was a real good example of how not to use a prop. Now, trunkies, if you've been to airports recently, you'll see that they are very, very popular. These are these suitcases that are designed for kids so that as a parent, you can drag them along and they can sit on the suitcase. They look kind of funky. The kids can put all of their stuff in. It's a great thing for children to have at airports. Okay. Now, the chap went into the Dragon's Den. He made the pitch. Unfortunately, it all went wrong because he gave it to Theo and Theo got his hands on it. Let's see what happened.
For 10% of his company.
Well, it's just over 3 years since I was in the Den. It's not such a distant memory. I think Trixie, the pink trunkie, still actually has nightmares about it. Meet Terence and Trixie, the world's first and only ride-on suitcases for globe-trotting tots.
When you first came in, I actually thought it was quite cute.
I loved it. I thought it was a really cute product. I could see how kids would enjoy riding on it.
Bearing in mind you're putting small children on this, I mean, I saw you wheel it in a straight line. What happens if it... Oh, OK.
And then Theo got hold of it.
The turning point in the Den from a good pitch to things tumbling downhill out of my control was when Theo got a little bit too aggressive with my pink Trixie suitcase.
I did not expect the strap to break so easily, I've got to be honest.
That got my attention. What did you do there?
It'd get my kids' attention as well. Is this a faulty catch one?
No, you've pulled the hook off there, yeah?
I shouldn't have done that, should I?
Rob's suitcase isn't the only product that's been tested to the limit, Perfita's style.
There is now the Theo test. Like, we'll hand it over to Theo and see whether or not it survives him, and if it does, it's clearly a robust product.
Are you trying to break it, Theo? Would I?
There were several products that I know if I sold in my stores would come back. The last thing you want as a retailer is products to come back. This looks rubbish.
Yeah, I didn't design that, I'm afraid.
No, but they are rubbish.
Yeah.
I think if anybody was tempted to invest in Trunky, when the strap came off, I think people thought, well, nah, not for us.
The moment Theo pulled that handle off, the whole integrity of the quality of that product was compromised. So I think you...
Poor guy, he was clearly scarred by the whole Trunky experience. So the real key message here is hang on to your prop, okay? If you're using a brochure, then you take control and you present from that brochure. And you know what? You can also use the magic finger. Why is this magic? Well, because if I'm presenting to you there and then raise it back to me, your eye actually does follow. And if I take it back down, you will automatically go back down. It's like it's a magnet to your retina. It's a magic finger. Works with a pencil as well, or a pen. Basically, just keep control of that customer, okay? You should be in control. The problem with giving them a brochure or a price list in advance is that, do you know what the first thing, if I have a price, well, a proposal, the first thing I do is look at the back to see what the prices are, okay? You need to stay in control. Even if you have a copy for them and a copy for you, there's no guarantee they're not reading ahead. It's no different to the PowerPoint that we discussed earlier. Okay. If you're using samples, make sure that they're clean, make sure that they work. That was the problem with the Trunky. It didn't work. It absolutely undermined the credibility of the presenter. So let's move on to analogies. Analogies. Well, why are analogies good and why is it that people struggle? The reason why they're good is that they make complicated simple. They make the hard to understand easy to understand. Why? Because they relate it in everyday life. If you can relate it to buying a car, going to the supermarket, going to a football game, it's stuff that people understand, okay, rather than something that's quite technical and it's a bit kind of business jargony. This absolutely just clears the mind. It works particularly well when it's something that we do in normal everyday life that we believe is a no-brainer. Why would you do something else? However, maybe in a business context, we don't see it as a no-brainer. So if you can link it to the analogy of the no-brainer, it then makes it very easy for the customer to agree to buy. So here are some movie analogies for you to get your heads around.
For your information, there's a lot more to ogres than people think.
Example?
Example? Okay, ogres are like onions.
They stink?
Yes. No.
Oh, they make you cry?
No.
Oh, you leave them out in the sun, they get all brown, start sprouting little white hairs.
No. Layers. Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. You get it. We both have layers.
Oh, you both have layers. Oh. You know, not everybody like onions.
You're so wise. You're like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
The ultimate analogy, life is like a box of chocolates. But you know what, thinking about the Shrek one, I think that's kind of the reason why people struggle with analogies, because they're too worried about the actual analogy, what it is itself. You know, Donkey was worried about people don't like onions. That's not the point. We understand that the whole point about an onion is peeling away the layers to get to the true inside. So it's a great analogy. Don't get hung up about what the analogy actually is, okay? So, on this webinar, we don't have time to go into the other sizzle selling techniques, but I hope that you've taken something from today in terms of how to make your presentation sizzle. Certainly think about the way you present. Certainly think about the way that you construct your meeting. Do you really think about those different learning styles? Think about the colors, the insight colors, attracting those fiery reds, engaging the sunshine yellows, ensuring you give theory for the cool blues, and very much make it practical, relating back to the individual in terms of the earth greens. Think about the way you use props, keep control of them, that's absolutely essential. And then lastly, it's always ensuring that you truly use great storytelling, analogies, metaphors to really hit your message home. So, thank you for watching, and we look forward to speaking to you next week.